Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Today I've got for you guys 5 different fragrances that blew me away the first time that I smelled them for one reason or another. For some of these fragrances, it might be because I was just blown away and thought, wow, that's amazing, that fragrance smells great. For other fragrances, it might be I was blown away because I was expecting it to be complete trash. Then I smelled it and I was like, it's actually not that bad. So that's what we're doing here today, 5 different fragrances and 1 honorable mention, so technically 6, but 5 just sounds a lot better, so that's what we're going with for the title. We've got a lot to talk about today, guys, so let's jump into this. First off, I guess, let's do the honorable mention. And this is one that I just got in. I literally did a first impression on this yesterday, and I'm featuring it today. That's a quick turnaround. It's this one right here. Guess Seductive Homme Noir. This one is about 20 bucks at discounters, so this is a cheapie, which you would expect because this is a fragrance from Guess, and Guess is not a brand known for high class, high dollar fragrances. This one has amber, tonka, nutmeg, and apple as some of the notes in the fragrance, along with grapefruit as well. When I did my first impression on this, I thought it was pretty good, but it didn't necessarily blow me away. What did blow me away though, was the fact that my wife thought it was awesome. She thought that this smelled fantastic. And later that evening, well, yesterday evening, I was around a couple of her friends and they checked this one out as well. And guess what? Same thing. And that blew me away. I was not expecting this to get such a good reaction from multiple people when the fragrance itself is just 20 bucks and nobody has really hyped this. I know that Chad from A Gentleman's Journey has checked this fragrance out and he thought that it was pretty nice, as I recall, but I still was not expecting the reactions that I got. For me, it smells good for the price. $20 fragrance, it's pretty good, it's solid. But it's not something that just, like I said, blew me away the first time that I smelled it. But the reactions that I got definitely did. It's a little bit powdery, definitely has more of a nighttime feel to it. It's got a very noticeable apple, a noticeable amber, a little bit of grapefruit in there as I mentioned, and a touch of spice as well. It comes across like a sexy nighttime fragrance that you can pick up on the cheap, because guess what? That's actually exactly what it is. So that one, Guess Seductive Homme Noir, is my honorable mention for those reasons. Just the fact that at the price tag, it's really good for compliments. All right, next up, this one from MIYAKE, Low DC Wood and Wood. Wood and Wood, yeah. Not the greatest name that I've ever heard of for a fragrance, but they're definitely trying to get across what this is based off of. This is one that blew me away because I was expecting it to be complete and utter trash. From what I had heard before I got the fragrance in, before I had smelled it, this was a catastrophe of a release from pretty much everybody I had talked to. They said, this sucks. This is MIYAKE at their worst. And then I got it in and smelled it and was pleasantly surprised. Now, is this a groundbreaking, super ultra new fragrance? Not really, but it still smells really nice. It's easy to wear and it's a compliment getter as well. It's got apricot in there as the main fruity note, which is something you don't see all that often. Very nice tart sweetness there. There's also woody notes and ambroxan, and it does come across like a modern wood kind of scent. By that, I mean it comes across like aroma chemicals, but it doesn't smell bad. It's something that most people, your average Joe or your average Jane out there, is going to think smells great. Fresh, bright, uplifting, but at the same time masculine and modern. There's also grapefruit in here, which just pairs perfectly with ambroxan, as we've seen, and can't even tell you how many different men's fragrances by this point. But yeah, it's just basically an extremely easy to wear, bright, fresh take on a modern woody scent. This is not your powerful masculine woody scent. This is not a spicy woody scent. This one, just fruity, fresh, sweet, sparkly. And like I said, that one blew me away because I was expecting it to be much worse than it ended up being. Now, some of you out there who hate modern men's scents, especially the ones that do take on heavy ambroxan, isoe super, cashmeran, or amberwood, you're not gonna like this most likely. But for your average guy out there looking for something versatile, people-pleasing, mass appealing with good performance, it's gonna be a winner. From there, we're gonna hop over to a Valentino fragrance. I reviewed this one when it was still new. You can, as of this video, find it at 1 or 2 discounters, but it's getting harder to find. It will sell out and then not pop back up for a long time. And I've talked about this fragrance in the past as being something that could potentially go the way of the Dodo, but that's all still up in the air. But forget that for now. It's this one, Valentino UOMO Intense. This has iris, leather, vanilla, and tonka, some of the main notes in the fragrance. This one gets compared to DIOR HOMME Intense. So when this first came out, a lot of people said, oh, Valentino UOMO Intense is just a clone of DIOR HOMME Intense, but they are actually different fragrances. If you smell them side by side, you'll be able to pick up lots of differences. They're not the same, though they do both have iris as one of the main notes. And the iris here is going to have a bit of that familiar lipsticky vibe. Some people out there prefer DIOR HOMME Intense Heads and Tails over Valentino UOMO Intense. Other people prefer Valentino UOMO Intense Heads over Tails above DIOR HOMME Intense. For me, I think they're both fantastic fragrances. I love them both. This one, the biggest difference, the easiest way to break it down is the leather note. So Valentino UOMO Intense does have leather as one of the main notes in the fragrance, whereas DIOR HOMME Intense is going to have more woody notes in the base as that one dries down. This one is one that I was just blown away by the quality of the fragrance, thought that it smelled amazing the first time I smelled it. This is one of those scents that was kind of love at first sniff, if you want to call it that. The Valentino UOMO line in general is a very good line of fragrances. They do have, you know, a couple that are weaker releases as compared to some of their better ones, but in general, the Valentino UOMO line, very solid, and Valentino UOMO Intense may be the best of the bunch. Let's hop from there to a fragrance that I have talked about in the past a few times, and this one is one that just really surprised me. It is a great fragrance for nighttime, for date nights, for casual wear, and is a big compliment puller as well. It's this one, Roberto Cavalli UOMO La Notte. So this one I've talked about probably 3-4 times on this channel, but it's for a good reason. I think this stuff smells fantastic. Leather, tonka, cardamom, bergamot, some of the notes in this fragrance. This one to me is similar to CH Privé by Carolina Herrera, only this one even better than CH Privé. So that one, CH Privé, when it came out, was really heavily hyped as a great date night fragrance, which it is. And this one, because it's from a lesser known house and because CH Privé came before it. So, I mean, to be fair, this is not hyper unique, but because this is from a lesser known house, it doesn't really get talked about very much. This one smells just great. As I said, it's sweet. It's got the cardamom that's used in a way that is just extremely mass appealing, that sweet spiciness, that sexiness. It's got it. The leather here, again, on the sweeter side of things. This is not a dirty leather, not a funky leather. The performance, not extreme, not in your face, but off my skin better than Carolina Herrera CH Privé. Bottle looks great, presentation is solid. It's just a killer fragrance, just absolutely killer. Very easy to wear in fall, easy to wear in winter. Could wear it in springtime as well, though in high heat, probably reach for something else. That, thus far, is my favorite from the Cavalli UOMO line. The Cavalli UOMO line is very solid. You can pick them up usually for a good price from discounters. As I said, Cavalli not really well known as far as the fragrance game goes. They're not like, you know, Christian Dior, Carolina Herrera, or some of these other bigger houses, Paco Rabanne, Versace, etc., etc. So you can pick these up usually for a very good price. This is my favorite from the UOMO line, though the entire UOMO line is solid. So it's worth checking out each one from the line to see which one may work better for you. Next up, a Versace fragrance. This one my wife bought for me as a present years ago. And it's this guy, Versace the Dreamer. A lot of people do not like the Dreamer. And as far as Versace fragrances go, it is more divisive than a lot of the ones that they have. You know, Versace Signature Pour Homme, Versace Dylan Blue, Versace Eros. Those are easily liked by the masses, just about anybody. And Versace Man Eau Fraiche kind of right in there with that. The Dreamer though, more divisive. More people are going to dislike this one, but the people that love this one are more likely to love this more than all of the Versace fragrances I just spoke about. Because the other Versace fragrances, the ones that are very easily worn, you'll have a ton of people that really like those, but not as many that love those fragrances, if that makes any sense. This one though can inspire a little more love, I guess. That's a weird way of putting all that. Hopefully that made sense and I didn't sound as weird as it's sounding in my head right now. So this one has tobacco, lavender, tonka sage, and rose, along with carnation as some of the notes in the fragrance. It is a fragrance that to me just smells amazing. My wife, like I said, bought this for me as a gift. The first time I sprayed it on, I was like, wow, I really, really like that fragrance. And actually, I'll just spray it on right now. The opening to this fragrance, some people absolutely despise. Actually, most people that dislike this fragrance, it's because of the opening. They'll say, oh, the dry down's actually pretty good, but I can't get past the opening. For me, maybe I'm weird, I like the opening. It's a little herbal, sometimes a little bit sharp, but it smells nice. The tobacco in here, very good. The lavender gives it a classic, clean, masculine sort of vibe, as does the carnation, which is a note that was used heavily in more classical men's fragrances, but nowadays doesn't really get used. This one is ultimately a slightly sweet men's floral with tobacco, and it's very well done in my opinion. Also extremely cheap, which does not hurt. So I have a couple bottles of this. I have a vintage bottle of the Dreamer and then a more modern version of the Dreamer. Honestly though, they smell pretty much the same. So that's a fragrance I wouldn't get too worked up about having to get a vintage bottle. Some fragrances, yes, there is a big difference, an enormous difference between a vintage bottle and a modern bottle. The Dreamer, not as much. If you spray them on side by side, could you pick out differences? Sure. Or are they going to be differences that really matter, that are, you know, large, groundbreaking, that change the makeup of the fragrance? No, they're not. And the modern bottle that I have of the Dreamer performs just as well as my vintage does. That's gonna take us to the last bottle in this list, definitely not least though. This is a fragrance that I reviewed back in the earlier days of the channel. It's one that I've loved since first sniff, like pretty much all of these, I guess. But it's from Christian Dior in their Dior Homme line, and it's Dior Homme Parfum. This has iris, leather, oud, and sandalwood as some of the notes in the fragrance. And this one is a beast of a performer. This is a monstrous performer. I've had this for years. I've used not a whole lot of the fragrance, as you can see right there. This is one where couple sprays, you are good to go. Even if it's, you know, dead of winter, it is freezing outside, this will cut through the cold, trust me there. You've got the iris in here, just like most of the fragrances in the Dior Homme line. I was going to say all the fragrances in the Dior Homme line, but at this point, maybe not as much. Dior Homme 2020, doesn't matter. But it has the iris from the Dior Homme line in here. It's got a powerful leather. It's got a strong oud in there, but it's not an overwhelming animalic oud or anything like that. Very smooth fragrance, classy, gentlemanly. It's just an amazing scent, and it has been kind of a pain to get this fragrance in the US for a while now. I saw this fragrance at a duty-free when I was flying through LaGuardia maybe a year ago, New York City, and I didn't pick any of the bottles up, and maybe I should have, because this is the only one I have. And this is a fragrance that was exclusive to Europe. So if you go online to Christian Dior's website, you try to buy Dior Homme Parfum, not gonna be there. It has on occasion popped up at discounters, not really for an enormous discount. You're still gonna have to pony up some cash if you want that fragrance. But when it does pop up at discounters, it usually sells out pretty quickly, and then who knows when they're gonna get it back in stock. It's this whole thing. So at some point I need to pick up an extra bottle of Dior Homme Parfum just in case this one does go the way of the dodo bird, as I spoke about with Valentino UOMO Intense. It is an amazing, amazing fragrance. As far as designer fragrance releases go, DIOR Homme Parfum is a top tier release, in my opinion. You can go online, Fragrantica, Base Notes, you'll just see lots of people saying the same thing that I've told you here, that it's just a great fragrance. And like I said, I did a review on this years ago. You can check that out if you want. I've reviewed actually Valentino UOMO Intense and La Notte also. So if you want more information on these, check those reviews out. The other three haven't reviewed yet, but maybe in the future. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Fragrances that blew me away first time I smelled them. If you've smelled any of these fragrances, let me know what you think about them in the comments below. As always, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate all your support, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.